No prompt received. What do you do when obeying God may cost you everything? Daniel faced a law designed to silence his faith, but instead of hiding, he prayed and was thrown into a den of lions. Welcome to the Bible Storeroom. This is the powerful story of Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel's story began many years earlier. As a young man, Daniel had been taken from Judah to Babylon after Jerusalem was conquered. Though he lived far from home, Daniel remained faithful to the God of Israel. Over many years, God gave Daniel wisdom, courage, and understanding. Daniel served faithfully under Babylonian kings and later under a new kingdom. Biblical references: Daniel 1:1-7, 17. Daniel 5:30-31. Narration: Babylon stood in ancient Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in the area now known as Iraq. It was one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. After Babylon fell, the Medes and Persians took control. Daniel chapter 6 introduces Darius the Mede as ruler over the kingdom. Even though governments changed, Daniel's trust in God remained the same. Biblical reference: Daniel 5:30-31, Daniel 6:1. Narration: King Darius appointed 120 administrators to govern the kingdom. Over them, he placed 3 high officials. Daniel was one of the 3. Daniel proved to be so capable, trustworthy, and wise that the king planned to place him over the entire kingdom. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:1-3. Narration: The Bible says Daniel had an excellent spirit. He was not dishonest. He was not careless. He could not be bribed or trapped in corruption. Daniel served the king with integrity, but instead of celebrating Daniel's faithfulness, some other officials became jealous. They did not want Daniel to be promoted over them. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:3-4. Narration: The jealous officials searched for something they could use against Daniel. They examined his work, they watched his decisions, they looked for a mistake, a lie, or a reason to accuse him. But they found nothing. Daniel was faithful in his work and faithful to his God. Finally, they said, "We will never find any basis for charges against Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God." Biblical reference: Daniel 6:4-5. The officials created a dangerous plan. They knew Daniel prayed faithfully to God, so they decided to turn Daniel's faith into a crime. They would ask the king to make a law that no one could pray to any god or person except King Darius for 30 days. Anyone who disobeyed would be thrown into a den of lions. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:6-7. Narration: The officials came before King Darius and flattered him. They told him that all the leaders agreed the law should be made, but they were not telling the truth. Daniel had not agreed. Darius signed the decree and sealed it according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which could not be changed. The trap was set. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:7-9. Daniel learned that the law had been signed. For 30 days, he was forbidden to pray to the God he loved. Daniel now had a difficult choice. He could stop praying and protect his life, or he could remain faithful to God, even if it cost him everything. Daniel went home. He opened his windows toward Jerusalem, just as he had always done. Then he knelt down and prayed, giving thanks to God. The Bible says Daniel prayed 3 times a day. The new law did not change Daniel's devotion. He chose faith over fear. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:10. Narration: The officials saw Daniel praying and asking God for help. They hurried to the king and reminded him of the law. Then they accused Daniel. Daniel, one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king. He still prays 3 times a day to his God. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:11-13. Narration: When Darius heard this, he was deeply distressed. He respected Daniel and wanted to save him. For the rest of the day, the king tried to find a way to rescue him, but the officials reminded him that the law could not be changed. Darius had been deceived by their flattery, and now Daniel's life was in danger. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:14-15. Narration: As evening came, Daniel was taken to the lion's den. This was a deep pit or enclosure, used to keep powerful lions. The king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." Even Darius knew that Daniel's hope was in God. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:16. Narration: A stone was placed over the opening of the den. The king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his officials so that no one could secretly change Daniel's situation. Then the king returned to his palace. Daniel was alone in the darkness, except that he was not truly alone. Biblical reference: Daniel 6, verse 17. During the night, God sent his angel. The angel shut the mouths of the lions. Daniel was protected because he had trusted in God. The hungry lions could not harm him. In the darkness of the den, God's presence brought peace. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:22. Narration: back at the palace, King Darius could not sleep. He refused food, he refused entertainment. All night he worried about Daniel. The king had power over an empire, but he could not undo the law he had signed. He could only hope that Daniel's God had saved him. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:18. Narration: at the first light of dawn, the king hurried to the lion's den. As he approached, he cried out in anguish, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" Biblical reference: Daniel 6:19-20. Narration: then Daniel answered, "May the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight." The king was overjoyed. Daniel was alive. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:21-23. Daniel was lifted out of the den. The Bible tells us that no wound was found on him because he had trusted in his God. The officials had planned to destroy Daniel, but God had turned their trap into a testimony of his power. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:23. Narration: King Darius then sent a message throughout his kingdom. He commanded people everywhere to respect the God of Daniel. The king declared, "He is the living God, and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. He rescues and saves." Daniel's faith had revealed the greatness of God to an entire empire. Biblical reference: Daniel 6, verse 25-27. Narration: Daniel continued to prosper during the reign of Darius and during the reign of Cyrus of Persia. He had served God in Jerusalem, in exile, in foreign courts, and even in a lion's den. Wherever Daniel went, his true strength came from his faithfulness to God. Biblical reference: Daniel 6:28. Daniel's story teaches us that faithfulness to God is never wasted. Daniel did not pray only when danger came. He had built a life of prayer long before the crisis. When the test arrived, his habits of faith gave him courage. God may not always rescue us in the way we expect, but he is always present, always faithful, and always worthy of our trust. Narration: thank you for watching the Bible Storeroom. If Daniel's faith encouraged you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs courage, and subscribe to the Bible Storeroom. Follow and join us as we explore the hidden treasures of the Bible, one powerful story at a time. And before you go, leave a comment below. What did you learn from Daniel in the lion's den? In our next video, we will uncover the moving story of an important woman in the Bible, the woman with the issue of blood, whose faith brought her healing and hope. May God give you courage to remain faithful, even when life feels like a lion's den.